Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story is titled, Wife, 5 months pregnant, tells me to take back what I said about our past. And I said, I won't. My wife is currently pregnant and has spiraled hard over something I said I am unwilling to take back. We have a long history. We met at 22 and were in an exclusive relationship. Feelings were there on both sides, and she admitted she loved me. But since she wanted to be single and explore herself, she chose not to be with me and eventually got with someone else, knowing it badly hurt me. I cut her off at the time. At 27, we crossed paths again. Despite how messy and painful things had been, the feelings were still there like an invisible thread. She deeply apologized, went to personal therapy, and we had long talks before starting something serious. We took it slow. There were a lot of happy times and shared goals. I started to picture marriage, and we eventually got engaged. 7 months into our engagement, she got an Instagram request from a guy she had left me for. She responded politely when he messaged, hello. That seriously hurt me because I thought he was gone from our lives for good. I couldn't shake the feeling that my fiancé still couldn't resist getting validation from him, even if it was just basic courtesy, and that not immediately rejecting the request or talking to me about it wasn't her first instinct. She tried to explain she didn't realize I'd have a problem with it, but I couldn't move past it and broke up with her, even though it left both of us heartbroken. More so her. During the breakup, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be with her, so I started sleeping with her again while also dating someone else casually and having sex. She knew but stayed involved with me anyway. Eventually, I saw how much it was hurting her, so I told her I should let her go and what I was doing wasn't good for her mental health. But I was also impressed with how much she was willing to put herself through for me. After months, we got back together for good and later married. My wife recognized her role in how things had gone, and those hookups and casual dating weren't intensely emotional for me, even though I wasn't sure if I wanted to be with her at the moment. This is where it got hard because I once told her in a serious conversation, ETA, this is right before we got engaged again, that I didn't regret what I did. As painful as it was, I felt it balanced our relationship. Since she had left me when we were younger, at least I wasn't the only one who pined for the other. She also had to emotionally work to keep someone like I once did. It was toxic in a way, but it gave me mental closure. She didn't like hearing that, but she accepted it graciously, and we went on to have 3 good years of marriage. Now at 5 months pregnant, she's spiraling again. She cries every day saying, I cheated right in front of her, and begs and demands I take back what I did. She wants me to say I didn't need to sleep with other people. But I can't erase the facts or deny my own truth, especially since in my perspective, she was the one who first allowed that old guy to re-enter the picture. So I doubled down and told her no. She knew about all of this. ETA, please also note that this topic never once came up in our 3.5 years of togetherness ever since we got back together again. She only started pestering me about it a couple of weeks ago. I didn't start this, but I was firm on where I stood. That sent her into even more hysterics. I tried to explain that during those months, I genuinely wasn't sure if I wanted to be with her, but that only made her cry harder. Oof, this isn't going to end well, is it? You can see his wife is absolutely spiraling because one, she's 5 months pregnant, and I guess realizing that she's building a family with someone who just said that I needed to hurt you for balance, pretty much. And at the moment, she's sort of begging for this emotional reassurance from you. And even if you did feel that way back then, doubling down now just is showing you that you'd rather sort of win this argument over how she's feeling and her well-being. And OP is right about one thing. This is absolutely toxic. And with the kind of attitude that we're seeing in this story, it's not going to change anytime soon. Just terrifying, especially with a child on the way. Commenter says to OP, why on earth are you doing this while she's pregnant? You had forever to wear this out, but you chose now. Marriage counseling for everyone like yesterday. OP says, I didn't start this. We didn't even talk about this topic ever in our marriage until a few weeks ago. She started talking. I gave her my perspective. Depressed Banana says, I mean, there is a big difference between responding politely to an old ex and sleeping around afterwards like you did. She sounds very emotional right now and needs your support. So give it to her, or maybe she deserves someone better. Twin replies to that saying, did we read the same post? She broke up with him to explore the field. They got back together. She renewed contact with a guy she'd left OP for. OP broke up with her and slept around. She stuck around, eventually got back together, got married, and had the brilliant idea to bring a kid into their shit show. Commodore says, why did you keep getting back together? Why did you take some sick fucking pleasure in knowing you hurt her and she had to work for you? You can quite clearly explain that her messaging him back hurt you. It didn't need you to sleep around afterwards as petty revenge. Comfort your pregnant wife. If this is such a big deal to you, you should divorce. Your child deserves better than both of you. Commodore says, tit for tat has no place in a marriage. I see all your comments, OP, and how you keep justifying everything that happened between the two of you as her deserving it. Your wife is pregnant. Her hormones are all over the place. She's coming to you for comfort. And while she is being emotionally vulnerable, you'd rather be right and draw this line in the sand. Do you care at all about her? Or do you somehow feel like it's okay to keep telling yourself that things that happened between you 5 years ago is reason to refuse to reassure your wife today? We all did stupid things at 22, and 27 isn't much better. Realize now that kindness towards your life partner shouldn't be difficult. Come on. OP replied to that saying the difference is, these were my terms to getting back together. I can't sacrifice my dignity and tell her, sorry baby, I cheated on you even though I didn't. And one more comment from Own Variation. He says, man, you have no idea what's going on in her body and mind right now. And she feels rejected by the person she needs the most and is getting in a state which will harm the baby with cortisol levels. Just apologize and say you love her for fuck's sake. Or leave. She doesn't deserve someone so cold. OP says, I think those two are separate concerns. Her pregnancy and our past have nothing to do with each other. My stance is purely on our relationship, and it is kind of a deal breaker for me to consider it a given that I cheated on her, when she and I both know I didn't. I never would have had this stance, but given our history, it is equally important for me to be right here. I call it having my dignity, as important this marriage is to me. So OP did come back in to update the post and says, when I wrote my original post, I was still in the office away from her when I left our house. I spent it numbed out at work, then slept at my office. I'm writing this update while I'm working from home today, and she's with her mum right now. When I was away, I didn't pick up her calls, even though she rang me several times. I lost count. I just needed space to process and figure out what to say. Because even if people argue I didn't love her, the truth is I am attached to her. Maybe we're even a little codependent at this point. When I finally went home, she greeted me, but it looked like she hadn't slept the whole night. I stopped her from going to the kitchen and said we needed to talk first. I told her, before I say anything else, know that I'm willing to give us another shot. I'm also reevaluating whether this marriage should continue or not. I could see she wanted to cry, but I appreciated that she stayed patient and listened. I told her I wish our history wasn't so messy, that we didn't have so much baggage. I said that even though I wish things had played out differently, I'm never going to outright admit I cheated on her because I didn't, but I do love her and I feel empathy for her pain. And I wish it hadn't hurt her the way it did. What I needed her to understand though is that she can't keep demanding I say I regret what I did. The truth is, breaking up with her and being unsure if I wanted her as my partner was a direct response to what happened during our engagement, when she let that old connection back into her life. Even before that, I felt unequal in the relationship. When she left for someone else years ago, I had asked her to be official, and she said no. She could use the technicality to walk away without feeling like the bad guy. That left me insecure, and maybe it's toxic, but I really did feel that my actions later brought some balance to our relationship. For one, she felt what it was like to not have all of my loyalty just like I once had to feel with her. I told her that while I wish it hadn't unfolded this way, she has to find a way to accept my perspective. She can't keep projecting her guilty conscience onto me. None of this would have happened if not for her choices first. In some ways, it probably would have been better if we never got back together, but here we are, and we've built a family. I reiterated that these are my feelings, the same ones I was honest about when we reconciled. I asked her to tell me within a reasonable time frame whether she can truly live with that or not. I said I'm open to exploring this in marriage counseling with her, but I'm also clear about what I can and cannot say, and no matter what my feelings about it won't change. If she can't accept it, then we'll have to figure out what's best for our child together or apart. She broke down in a way that reminded me of years ago when she first admitted her guilt and apologized for leaving me, except this time it was worse. Through sobs, she said she doesn't want to lose me, but she also doesn't feel like I truly choose her. She even admitted the irony of pointing it out, that she knows this is exactly how I once felt during our relationship when she broke our boundaries. Hearing her say that hit me, because it showed she understood the parallel, even if it's unbearable for her. She told me she had time to think and realized that a big part of why she wanted me to say what she wanted was because she still hasn't forgiven herself for what happened all those years ago, and she left me to be with her ex. She said it was the worst mistake of her life. Even though things have been good between us, she felt like she needed more than just therapy. She needed my validation. In her mind, if I admitted I regret what I said and how I felt, that would finally allow her to forgive herself and move forward in our relationship. I understand her more now and have empathy, even though I don't fully agree with her that I needed to say that to soothe her feelings of guilt. That really moved me because I hadn't realized that guilt was the real driver behind her extra vulnerability and shame spirals. She said my refusal to take it back just reopens her shame and makes it worse. I told her that at the time. I was hurt and unsure about us, and I made sure choices I thought I needed to, but I also see how badly they hurt her. I promised her I'll never repeat them, because today I know with certainty that I want her and only her. For me, this feels like a personal breakthrough. We both admitted that what we truly want is the same thing, to feel chosen. At least that gives us common ground to work with. In the end, even though we were both in tears, we kept coming back to the fact that we love each other. We kissed, broke down crying together, and spent the few hours in the early morning holding each other. But even in that closeness, I couldn't shake the feeling that our issues aren't resolved. I still don't know where we stand in terms of any real agreement, only that we're deeply attached and neither of us want to let go. And it just feels like that's not the end of that story, because to me it felt like it's something that can keep going on, like the toxicity, it's going to keep looping round and round again. Whenever something comes up, he's going to get to say, she started all this from years ago. She's going to keep apologizing for it, and it's going to keep going round and round again, And I can see all the comments on this one talking about, now there's a kid coming into this mess as well. Absolute messy situation there, but what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Glittering Disc 5929 and says, am I the asshole here for refusing to help my brother after his ex-girlfriend scammed him out of nearly half the equity of his house? I, 37 female, have an older brother, George, 45 male, who isn't an idiot, but he can be lazy. Definitely the type to rely on weaponized incompetence whenever women and girls are around. Example, he literally acted like he didn't know where our mum kept the paper plates in the house he lived in for nearly 20 years, just so she'd get up, go into the kitchen, and make him his plates during the holidays. Just 1 week post her bunion surgery. Side note, they both tried to passive-aggressively make me feel guilty for not offering to fix my adult brothers so our mum wouldn't have to do it. Like I wasn't the only one doing most of the cooking and would be doing most of the cleaning afterwards. At age 30, George was given a windfall from our grandfather's estate. I got something too and used it as a down payment for a nice 5-bedroom house that's easily worth double now. During this time, he met Melinda, 50 female, and she was a nice lady. Smart, responsible, hardworking, sweet, and very organized. She came into the relationship with a steady job and was upfront about the lack of ability to have more children after complications from nearly losing her life giving her to her daughter. George stated that he was okay with that, but whenever Melinda would bring up his hesitation regarding marriage, he'd say that he had complicated feelings about not being able to be a father if he chose to fully commit to her, that he needed to process. saying that since he was willing to look over her fertility issues because he loved her, that she needed to show her love by waiting for him. That line worked for 12 years. After Melinda moved in, George demanded that she pay half the bills and part of his mortgage in exchange for allowing Melinda's daughter to move in with her. At the time, Melinda had little options as her former landlord was raising the rent too high and she was helping pay for her sister's medical bills. Melinda and George justified to everyone by saying what she would have had to pay George was still cheaper in rent at her old place. I said nothing because not my relationship. 2 years ago, George was caught cheating and Melinda was furious, then left. I don't know all the details, but she came back seeming to work things out. Didn't stop George from cheating, but Melinda shrugged and said that this was still a better deal, and so long as it kept from the house, she would cope. Recently, there was some type of damage to George's house and he needed people to come and fix it, but he hated the labor of searching for a reliable contractor, taking the time away from his job and hobbies to deal with them and the paperwork. Melinda offered to do it, and he didn't question it. Whatever she gave, he signed, and in front of third-party witnesses. Melinda got George to sign paperwork stating that she was entitled to 45% of the house. Now she's dumped him and is demanding that George either sell his house or buy her out. George is trying to fight this, citing that he didn't fully understand what he was agreeing to, and he's found a lawyer willing to take his case, but his fees are expensive. George and our mum think that I should help, but I'm refusing. I don't see why I should have to shell out thousands to save another grown man from his own lack of foresight, especially when there's a good chance he won't even win. I'm being called heartless and a bad sister, so I have to ask, am I the arsehole here? Witty D says, not the arsehole. George had it coming. Stringing that woman along for years, manipulating her by making her feel guilty over not being able to have more children, having her pay half the mortgage for his house, and then cheating on her? He made the bed, let him lay in it. Another one says, bro's help is where the paper plates always were. Liv Pressure says, not the arsehole. Your brother is a cheater and a fool. Was Melinda a bit underhanded? Arguably, yes. Does she deserve a share of the house in return for all she paid into it, not to mention the 12 years of domestic and emotional labor? Arguably, also yes. But when it comes to whether you should shell out for your brother's legal fees, the answer is an unequivocal no. He was a huge arsehole and ridiculously careless with the most significant asset, and that's not your responsibility to fix. He's an adult. He needs to fix his own mistake. Think says, I think OP needs to join Team Melinda and learn how to underhandedly make sure her mother's will is fair and that her assets are locked up now. I feel like the brother is on the path to convince Mum to hand over his inheritance early so he can deal with Melinda. Tale as old as time. Parents give golden man-child money and the other child is left scrambling to pay for their parents' medical expenses. And it was 12 days after this that OP did update the post. They gave a quick recap, which we won't cover because we basically just read that, but it says, okay, there's been an update. And I have to say, while I don't think my brother is an idiot overall, he's a lazy and very arrogant dumbass. I wanted to also clarify a few things as well. Melinda and my brother were in a relationship for 12 years, but they only started living together for about 9 to 10 years. Also, the documents were signed in the presence of a notary who asked my brother if he understood the context of the documents, and he affirmed that he did. And to the person who said that my brother was house poor, you hit the nail on the hammer. My brother spent the majority of his inheritance and savings on buying that house, and it barely had any furniture in it. When Melinda moved in, she paid to have it furnished on top of splitting utilities and paying rent. Now on to the new stuff. When my brother's house needed fixing, he let Melinda do the grunt work of finding reputable establishments to consider because he didn't want to be bothered. Melinda presented him with up to 3 options and convinced him to go with Company A, not real name, because they were offering seasonal discounts for first-time customers and / all new customers or / all new owners for specific items. Melinda's plan to get both discounts was to present it if she recently became the partial owner and had my brother email Company A to see if they'd be willing to accept that. Company A responded that if Melinda recently became part owner of the house, they'd be willing to give a partial discount as a courtesy. Company A was a small business, but with an excellent reputation in terms of service, quality of work, and meeting deadlines, so my brother was all in. What my brother didn't realize was that Company A went by the honor system when it came to Melinda and my brother's case, but on their website, it did say proper documents needed to be shown, so Melinda told my brother she'd come up with fake documents that he could sign in the presence of a notary that she knew through a friend who was supposed to be in on the scam. They weren't, but that's what she told my brother. The actual signing was at their home in front of the notary and 2 people from Company A who were initially there to survey the area. So basically my brother thought that he and Melinda were scamming Company A when in reality Melinda was scamming him. He thought the documents he was signing were fake, but they were real, and that's his defense. This is why he had trouble finding a lawyer. Wouldn't blame anyone here who thought this was fake, because what the fuck? So anyway, I'm not going to give him the money, but I will give him a list of realtors. Clean Permit said to OP on this one, so his defense is, I thought we were scamming a company, but really she was scamming me, Your Honor. And says, yeah, I think it's best to stay out of this one. OP says, I almost peed myself when I laughed. Latana says, are you taking your brother's word for how the legal paper situation came about, or have you talked to his ex? I bet their explanations are not even similar. And Fiesta Fan says it sounds like your brother is having the day he deserves. Still, not the arsehole. And there was all sorts of comments on this one, mainly, basically karma having its day. Some people questioning Melinda here and the way that she got him to sign this document. Other people on the back of that saying, she deserves it. She paid, half of the mortgage for nearly a decade. And basically there was a fair bit of back and forth in some places in parts of the update or the original post. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time, your likes, your sharing, your hypes. It all means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, truly. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.